Hey, did you know Robocop 2014 got a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Nope, but that's a shocker.
Yeah, well, today's movie that you don't hate. So today's movie that you don't hate is the 2014 version of Robocop, which is the remake to the 1987 original one. And if you've never seen You Don't Hate, we actually break down the movie within 5 categories to prove why you don't really hate this film. The categories are plot, acting, directing, special effects, and characters. So jumping right into that first category is plot. Art, tell us the plot of Robocop 2014.
It's a very simple, short plot.
It's Robocop, or
it's a police officer, company. How can we integrate advanced technology with this police officer?
Right.
Combine it. Now, how can we exploit this person? Then you have the inner turmoil between, you know, this guy who had a past life and trying to embrace his new life.
All right. So,
pretty simple.
Basic as plot as I have ever heard before. In this film, do you think they did a good job with the plot of this movie?
I actually did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
What were the one things about the way they did this one versus how they did the original 1990?
I think they explained a little bit more on the technology, especially the part where he's going through simulations, right? And he's firing, and they're like, no, it needs to be faster. He's too slow. How can we change it? And they tweaked it up a bit, and all of a sudden, this guy's just blowing people away, and he's all like, they explain, hey, why is he so much faster this time? Well, it's because secretly, you know, the computer takes over the moment he takes out his gun and he starts shooting people. And then when it's all done, then he goes back, but the whole time he's thinking it's him doing all this.
Exactly.
So we're removing the human decision, and it's just a computer making the decisions for him, but he doesn't know about it.
So you liked more of the detail that they gave you versus what they didn't really give you. They basically, in the original film, they kind of just said, hey, here's technology. Here's technology. It works. You like the fact that they spent more time explaining why it works.
Yes.
Okay, that was a good thing about it too, and I know it was one of the overall overwhelming themes to this film is that they wanted to show you more along the lines of what it was like for him to go from being a human to being this robotic cop and how he was going to deal with it, and the rest of the how the rest of the world was going to see it.
In the 80s, we were enamored with technology, right? But we didn't really care how it worked. We were just fascinated by bells and whistles because it was all brand new. Now we live technology so integrated in our life. You know, when you set your plate down, you're going to eat. Everyone usually has their phone, right?
So don't you think we would have accepted them just saying, "Hey, this worked" more than we?
No, because what we like now is how can we enhance it? What can we do? Everybody wants to modify it their own way, personalize it, I should say.
Okay, so
and this one they explained it, and it seemed to grasp a little bit better with.
Okay, so that more focus that they gave you on that in this movie, you like that overall?
Yes.
Okay, so what would you go like or hate with this?
I'm gonna go like.
All right, I will definitely go like as well as far as the plot. So that brings up our next category, and that's going to be the acting. All right, so we got a lot of, I wouldn't say big names in this. I think the biggest name that we had in this film was Michael Keaton playing Sellers. And as a matter of fact, let's start with him because he is the biggest name in this film. So what did you think of his interpretation of Sellers, you know, the old man that kind of ran OCP in the original film? What did you think of his interpretation of him in this movie?
He was actually a pretty interesting character because he brought something different. The original, man, he played a businessman. He was prudent. He just did not want to be messed with. And people respected his authority. This one, I think he felt a little more conniving or a little more.
They made his character more the focus, and obviously he was actually the villain of the film.
Yes.
Yes. So do you think Michael Keaton did a good job?
I think he did. I think he did a pretty good job.
I don't think we've ever had a movie where we ever walked away and said like, man, Michael Keaton did good. I mean, he even did Multiplicity, and we still walked away like, ooh, that's a good movie.
That'll be another you don't hate it.
You don't hate Multiplicity. He always does a great job, and that was one of the things.
He brings a different aspect. I think he dives into his character.
Exactly.
But he doesn't go on a limb where he stretches his acting abilities. I think he plays a character to the best of his ability, but he knows where his strengths and his weaknesses lay, so he plays towards his strengths.
I will definitely agree with that with Michael Keaton. The next person that we have on the list is Abby Cornish. she actually played the wife of Alex Murphy in this film.
I did struggle with her.
Murphy.
I did struggle with her just a little bit.
Really? What didn't you like about her?
It just felt like the chemistry wasn't there. If sometimes some of her scenes may have seemed a little forced, where
Well, it was just showing the emotional.
Yeah,
range
showing the emotion
because being like almost a widow.
Oh, she was a widow. she was a widow.
Okay.
And she was playing the widow, and then I would think that you're going from a widow to I find out that my husband's alive, and I would see a little bit more turmoil and like trying to grasp with reality what's happening.
That whole thing, and I was like, I don't want anything.
I just felt her acting on that. I felt her acting was a little far-fetched.
Okay. All right. I mean, I was hit or miss with her acting in the film, and it was like I did think there wasn't a lot of emotion when they first told her that he was gone, and then when they told her he was alive, and they held the whole thing where he told her it was like he had a psychic break or a psychotic break, and he was killed. There was a little bit up and down with that. Nothing really came across. It was like, man, that was a great job that she did. So okay, I'm okay with it.
She wasn't a standout.
Yeah,
she was not a standout.
Right, so the next person we're gonna move on to is Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman actually played the scientist in the film who actually basically gave us Robocop in this movie. The scientist was kind of shown in the original film, but wasn't really a big part about it. It was more along the times when they were doing the montage of putting Robocop together was when they really focused on the scientist that did it. This one was really focused and was a central part of the movie.
Yes.
How do you feel about how he did in this movie?
Another character that I think did an outstanding job.
Gary Oldman always does a great job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This was a character that I don't want to say brought to life because there's no comparison really to the first one.
Yeah, it was like we got
the original.
We got the hot chick with the big thick rim glasses in the original one. She was man. But anyway. Gary Oldman, you're no thick rim glasses girl from the original one, but
the way his character was involved throughout the film would make it seem how a scientist, an engineer, someone who's putting all this together is heavily involved, is an integral part of this, consistently keep it going.
He got to show the passion that a scientist that does this for a person would.
Yes.
They show like this isn't the only thing that he does.
In the original, it's like, hey, we put it together. We got some technicians over here who know how to plug something in. They cared a little bit
at the Christmas party. He put a kiss on his face.
No, I'm saying once in the original, once he was built, once he was operating, it's like they're done.
They did the baby food thing and then they were done.
Right. We have some technicians who plug in this power cord every time he sits in the chair.
They read the paper when the thing was going crazy.
Yeah, this is more like,
oh my God, he had a dream, and then that was it.
This was more that he was involved throughout the whole process. Okay, what else can we do? Where are we going with this?
So he definitely sold you as a scientist in this film that would have been caring for the character itself.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so that's great. All right, so the next person we're going to go in, and we're going to get to Joel Kinnaman in a minute, but the next person we're going to deal with is Jackie Earle Haley. Now, we said that Michael Keaton was more the villain of this film, but Jackie Earle Haley, spoilers if you haven't seen the movie,
3 years later,
would be the second villain in this film. What did you feel about the job that he did in this movie?
I don't think he was used enough as the villain. Okay. I think he did a good job. Not a great job, not a stellar job, but I think he did a good job of playing the villain, playing his character up. I wish they would have utilized him just a little bit more so we can hate the villain, so we can be cheering more for.
But would you think that would have taken away from Michael Keaton if they had to put more focus on him?
No, I think they just didn't utilize his character where they could capitalize on us really cheering for this guy being taken out.
Look, I mean, we've only seen him as Rorschach and as Freddy Krueger, so I mean, we don't get to see too much of his range, and I mean, to me, when I saw it, I mean, I felt like I was watching those characters anyway. Like I didn't get to see too much different from him. But I mean, as a bad guy, I mean, he didn't get in the way of Michael Keaton for me.
No,
so
I'm not saying that he got in the way or he could have detracted. I just mean that I wish that we could have hated him a little bit more, or really played up the villain, or not the villain. He was just,
if you're not faster, you ain't gonna never leave China. So I was good with that. All right, so the next person we're gonna go and touch on is Sam Jack as Novak. This character itself, and we don't really want to talk about characters, but the character he's playing was to capture more of the Verhoeven style of the original film. But how do you think he did as the news reporter, capturing that type of style from the original?
Didn't like it.
Didn't like it?
No.
What part didn't you like? Because I know what I thought about it. What part didn't you like about it? or his acting job.
His acting on it, and the thing I like that he stretches himself out. He doesn't play one, even though he's typecasted really for being loud and abrasive at times and just using profanities. He really puts himself out in various different characters that you normally wouldn't see. Someone of his pedigree, right? That he has a long list of. He's always, so that's something that I do like. That he does. With this film, it just felt as if this wasn't, I think this character could have been played by anyone, really.
You know what? I think that they brought him in just to get the last line that they got in this movie. I think that they brought him in basically the same reason they brought him in to do Snakes on a Plane. That's a great point. They brought him in just so he could have that last line, and it was like, and if you... It's like, that's why they brought him in. I don't think he brought anything extra to this role. Like you said, it could have been played by anybody.
Yeah.
All right, so finally, Joel Kinnaman. Joel Kinnaman as Alex Murphy. How do you think he did? Hush, you in the back. How do you think he did as Alex Murphy?
There was moments where I really liked this guy.
Okay.
That he brought in action, a new, different type of action.
Acting overall, do you think he did a good job?
Well, that's wrong. He did a good job. With the acting, it wasn't like the '80s were over the top action star. It was more. He was more cerebral in his action scenes, where it felt like on the downsides where he's just having a conversation, it just felt detached. It felt as if.
You see, I feel the opposite with Kinnaman, and I might be in the minority with this, is that I thought he got a chance to bring more emotion to Alex Murphy as a person and dealing with this. When the original film, you got to see who he was. Obviously, you knew that he cared about his family, cared about his son, and wanted to be a good image and role model for him. And then basically he was Stone Cold Robocop for 90% of the movie. And we never really got to know Alex Murphy till he got towards the end when he got damaged and he started to give more emotion at that point.
Well, that's where, because
this
they had
film was all about who he was as a character, and I think Joel Kinnaman showed that.
I agree to the extent of that he showed it. He just didn't show it as well as what I would have liked.
Okay, so you wanted a little bit more out of him.
Yeah.
Did Robocop need tears? Is that what we're saying? All right, so overall with the acting, because we touched on it, and I don't think we ever really got anybody besides Sam Jack that really gave us a bad performance. But overall, how do you feel about the acting in this?
I think it was all right.
You give it a like or a hate?
I give it a like.
I give it a like as well. Like I said, I am my standouts. I think was Joel Kinnaman. Like I said, Abby Cornish and Sam Jack were the weak points, but they weren't weak enough that I'm walking away like.
Yeah, they didn't bring down the movie.
Exactly. So the next category we have up is directing, and the director of this film is Jose, and I'm gonna jack this up, Padilla.
Joey Pads.
Joey Pads directed this film. Now, he's directed a bunch of B films. Actually, this is probably the biggest film that he has on his resume. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier at the beginning of the show, where I talked about the different directions they were going in this film. How do you feel about where they took this film? Because he actually made a statement himself when it was coming out, when he was first working on it. He wanted to show more of what it was like to go through the transition of being a cop and a human, making the transition to being a robot cop, as opposed in the original film where they focus more on a revenge story.
If we were to judge the movie based off that statement, then he did a great job. Unfortunately, we don't judge the film off of that statement.
How do you feel? Well, I mean, overall, do you think he had a good direction with it?
A key part, especially of action movies, is you look forward to what's happening next. Okay, what's going on next, and it doesn't have to be bigger and better and louder, more explosion fights. It's just what can you look forward to. This is one of the films where I think the director lost that. Okay, forgot about that, I should say.
Okay,
he didn't. I think he was focusing so much on what he wanted to showcase that he forgot that the audience wanted to see. Give me something else. Keep me enticed, right, throughout the movie. Give me something that what I came to see. I came to see an action movie. Okay. I came to see, fight scenes. And he did that.
So you think he
he slowed the pace a little too much, and to the point where it's like we already know there's going to be a big fight at the end. Right. That's already a given. What we need is something to keep us enticed throughout the entire film. And this is where I feel this movie gets a bad rap.
So and I don't want to dive too far into action scenes because we have that coming up next. So you think that because he gave us so much story at the beginning of it, that's where he went wrong?
It was so much story in the beginning, so much story in the middle, and it wasn't even peppered throughout the film of action. It was just like you pretty much knew when every action sequence was going to happen, and how it was going to be played out.
Okay. How do I feel about this movie? Because I knew that going into the film, because when they first announced it and they were talking to him, and I was like, okay, that's a different take on it. I'm kind of interested in seeing it. So I knew what I was getting when I got this movie. So I'm not sure if I didn't like it. Now, I will agree with you. There was a lot of times where I was like, man, if this was the 87 film, we'd have been like 300 bodies deep by now. And at that point in the film, he's still shooting up like regular little android robots that are coming out of him. And, exciting as it was, it did feel slow. It made this movie feel really bit slow. So I'm on the fence as far as how I feel about the director. You have anything else kind of maybe push me on a like or hate on it? Or because I kind of see that you're leaning towards hate on it.
I'm leaning towards hate, and I'll tell you another reason why on the hate. It was drab throughout the film, where the characters and the acting, as much as we talked about they didn't detract. He didn't add any flair. Okay. There was nothing that stood out in this movie.
Do you think
from the directing aspect that he could have controlled, where it would have brought more people in?
Do you think he thought he was getting a trilogy?
I think he thought at least I'm going to get one other one, right?
So it's like I'm building my setup, I'm building my universe, and then I'm going to give you everything else in the second film, and then he didn't get that second film. Yeah. Okay, so with that being said, I'm probably going to go and lean to hate on this one. So I mean, like I said, I felt the slowness. I thought about it a little bit after you were saying it. Was like he probably was waiting on something else, and that's not a good thing to do with any new property. It's like you want to focus on your story in the whole in that one movie, as opposed to waiting to get some other things out in another one. So, all right. So I guess we're gonna go and hate with that one. All right. So our next category is going to bring up the special effects and action scenes. All right, so we just got through talking about how slow this movie was, but what did you think about what they gave us?
I like the action scenes.
Okay, you did like the action scenes.
I did like the action scenes.
Shooting up all the robots.
Yeah, well, and here's why. Okay, so these movies, as you know, I like to keep things a little bit more, I don't want to say realistic, because we're going in there about a movie, but there are some times when you see so many action movies where it's just like endless amount of dead bodies, that it's just the body count is over the top, right? And it's like, okay, when did we ever watch the news and hear about like a rampage that went on by a police officer for the police?
We hear about that quite a bit.
I'm talking about like where they're, body count was this, or a whole gang was taken out, this, that, and the other, right? Because these criminals, and once again, I like this about the plot. It wasn't about how the crime was spreading. It was more as how can we capitalize with this character. So with the action sequences, I like the fact that he was having to fight the robots at first, right? When it's a training, because it kept it inside.
Let's talk about the training thing that he had with Jackie Earl Haley's character. And it was like
the
simulations they kept doing. It was like with the virtual ones, and one where he actually had to score big to get out of there. So I mean, just that one in general. It's like they had a lot of music elements in it to kind of build up the pace of the fights and how you felt in it. I was okay with that one. The other scene that I'm thinking about is when they first kind of tuned him down to make him more of the more zombie-like version of Robocop from the original one, when he went out to go stop a drug lab. Basically, a recap of the first movie. How did you feel about that action scene?
I liked it as well.
Okay, and that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. That one, and it's like where he goes through, he puts down the visor and goes like, all right, I'm on serious ass kicking mode.
Yeah, it's like once the cap goes backwards, it's like a switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Once the visor comes down, it's like a switch, right? Which that's what they were explaining in the movie. It's like, okay, once this happens, he thinks it's him making these decisions, but it's actually
pilot at that point.
Yeah, he's just a
passenger.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he thinks he's driving, and that's one of the things that I liked about it. Because
I really like that one because they, like I said, the visor drops down. He goes through. Most of that scene is in the dark, and I really hate when they do things in the dark. But they played it up so well that when they turn the lights on, you got to see the aftermath of it. I was like, that was a great scene.
So many times the lighting in action sequences, I think they do a dark lighting to cover up the poor action sequences.
Yeah, the high special effects, man. And it's like, oh, you can't tell the stuff we were like, oh, look at that.
Or sometimes the action sequences are so blurry, it's just you can't even tell what's happening because it's just a chaos. Even if I tried even slowing some movies down and you try to see what's happening.
Don't slow down the Transformer. You still won't be able to.
Yeah, it's like you have no idea. They just put random shots of things.
Just blur some stuff and throw some robotic parts up.
This they didn't. They actually they played it well. They used the strengths of filmmaking, the directing in this part for the action sequences. I think did a great job because he played to the strengths. Okay, let's put this down, and then when the sequence is over, it's like, wow, that was actually, it was kind of cool. It kept me entertained throughout the whole film.
All right, last action scene that's on here is obviously the finale where he actually has to go back to the OCP building. He has to fight the Ed 209s because that's what we got in the original film. He got to fight him in here. How did you feel about that action scene?
That's where I think out of all the action sequences, that was probably my least favorite.
Because we probably got 3 big set pieces in there, which is, like I said, the beginning montage, the training montage, the drug lab, and then the OCP building. So you really didn't feel that one?
No, I know they brought in those other robots because that was in the original, and
they had to have them fight Ed 209.
Yeah, but I think we could have used something else. They could have done something else.
People would have rioted. They already rioted because he had the one hand, which we can touch on as well too, because that is a big deal that people have with this film. Is that because in the original film it was total body prosthesis. They tried to save the arm, and he told them no. There will be no saving arm. I said total body prosthesis, and in this one, they saved the hand. How did you feel about that hand?
It's cool. That's what makes it even better. All right, see, this is a different take. We don't have to. If I wanted to see the original, I would watch the original. I want to see a different take. That's what makes it really cool. Okay, so the hand. What big difference does it make? And from the peanut gallery, I think back there.
Come on, get it out.
Well, I just have a question. Would you consider the hand being like a glove, as far as it's the human
element?
All right, so the reason they explained in the movie with the hand is that, so he could shake hands. I thought that was a great explanation of why they kept their hands, so he could shake hands. When he was Robocop, remember when he tried to shake the little kid's hand at the school?
That he would crush his...
It's like, he had tried to shake, when he was like, hey, let me shake your hand, he was like, he was crushing his hand, and it was like 500 foot-pounds or something like that. It was like, he could literally shake hands with people, and that was more of their public perception of Robocop. That was the reason why it made sense. If they just said, we just didn't take the hand off, then it'd have been dumb. The reason they left it on there for a good reason.
Well, I give it the finger.
All right, well, that's it. So the other thing that people didn't like, and now we're still dealing with special effects, is that it was PG-13. So there was no gore in this film. I mean, there was no gore at all. It was like if somebody got shot and just fell over, you never saw it.
You never saw. And no, none of that ever happened.
Basically, he was like, whatever the squibs, he basically bought them all that day, and he was like, if you get shot, you're not getting shot once. You're getting shot multiple times. And that was the biggest thing, and it was a big selling point in 1987 about how violent the movie got. Was basically NC-17 when it was the first cut of it, and they had to cut it down just to get the R rating because it was worse. And I've seen the unrated one, and the unrated one is brutal. Like the scene when he gets shot, I watched the theatrical cut with my kids the other day, and I was like, they cut out a good 30 seconds of him. And when they stop and they reload their weapons. In the uncut one, they shoot him more. So they're like, nah, I'm out. And they load up, and he's still standing there, and they continue to shoot him. In the theatrical one, they don't. So people love that aspect of the original film. In this one, we didn't get any of that. We got robot violence, and that's really it. So how did you feel about no gore in this film?
You know what? It didn't, in my opinion, it didn't detract from the movie at all.
I don't think it detracted at all.
Not one. It didn't take away where I left like, I needed the gore to complete this film.
No.
The other film,
I would have liked it.
Sometimes I think it's too much, and I'm just going to use Kill Bill for just a moment, right? Kill Bill.
Kill Bill is extreme.
I mean, it's like they cut you with a knife and it's like squirting out blood, right? It's a complete...
By the way, Kill Bill is in our pop culture coupon save. It made our final 4. All right, so that's gonna break. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Overall, how did you feel about the action and special effects in this film?
I'm gonna go with a like.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a like too. I like what they did. Like you said, the final scene wasn't the greatest action scene, and like I said, it seemed like they put that in there because they had to put that in there. Like I said, they had to touch on the drug lab, which I think was well done.
It was good.
It was
actually
actual 9 scene. They had to put that in there, and got a little CGI, but it could have been done better. All right, but I still give it a like. You give it a like.
I give it a like.
It gets a like. All right, so our final character category is going to be characters. So this is where we're going to talk about the interpretations of the characters that we got on screen. Now, a lot of these characters were new characters.
Yeah.
So we're going to focus on what we really knew before from the original one, and that's really going to be Robocop and Sellers. How did you feel about how the interpretations of them on screen?
I liked it. I liked a fresh new take. The original, and I know, and so many people like it because of the nostalgic purposes, or reasons, I should say. And I'm not taking away from that. Trust me, I'm one of those people that I'm in the same bandwagon when it comes to that. But when we really look back, I'm going to use an example from The Big Bang Theory. Okay. I was watching The Big Bang Theory one time, and they were watching a movie, the boyfriend and girlfriend, and she's like, you know, Indiana Jones really played no part in that. He could have. The movie would have ended the same way in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It would have ended the same way with Indiana Jones. They still would have opened the Ark, and they would all died.
And what is it? The Last Crusade. They would have drank from the wrong cup, and they would have died.
They played no part.
That's right. They really didn't need Indian in those films. That's crazy to think about. So do you think that, now that we jumped off the topic, do you think that the character of Alex Murphy / Robocop was done well in this film?
Yes, I think he added a little bit. Could it have been better? Yes. The original, I think they could have.
I think the original could have been better. I think they could have done more with Alex Murphy because it was like
we never bought into Alex Murphy. We never bought into him, the turmoil, the struggle, what he was going through.
If you talk
as
to
much as they did talk about it, but we never bought into it. Okay.
If you talk to people who saw the original film, they would only remember what he did as Robocop. Yes. They barely remember Alex Murphy. In this one, it made you think more about Alex Murphy becoming Robocop.
Yes.
So I like what they did with the character on that. Peter Sellers, we talked about Michael Keaton doing a great job as a villain. Do you think that they captured Peter Sellers in this film?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Peter Sellers?
Did I say? I'm thinking Peter.
Pink Panther?
Am I saying that wrong? Do you think they did Sellers well in this one?
Yes.
All right.
Not Peter Sellers, all right?
Not Peter Sellers. All right.
Peter Sellers is Peter Sellers.
Sorry, my mind sometimes get on different things. All right, so overall with characters, how do you feel?
Overall characters, I enjoyed.
Okay, I enjoyed them too.
A fresh new take.
All right, I enjoyed them too. So you got a like, I got a like. So that actually brings the score right now an actual 4-1. We only had one hate, and that was with directing. So overall, you really don't hate this film.
No, you really don't.
Some final notes about this film is that the budget of this movie was $100 million. It ended up grossing $242 million. So it wasn't that it was a total box office bomb. It just didn't do what they were expecting it to do for such a large property. Like I said, they
could have saved about half of that if they wouldn't have gotten Sam Jackson.
Probably, because Sam Jackson asked for a lot for just one line in this whole movie. Please make sure that you guys tell us what you guys thought about the film. If you were a big Robocop 2014 fan like I am and thought it should have got a sequel, because I think it really did. Especially with the references to China. China should have helped bail this movie out, like they bail out America. But that's. Do you have any final thoughts about this film?
Look. Sometimes we hate these movies, or we say we hate them because for nostalgic purposes. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is what I grew up with. But if you really go back and rewatch it, that's why I say Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones films. Mm-hmm. Think about it from a different lens, and it'll change your aspect of what you're really looking at in the film. Stop comparing it to what was before, and enjoy it for what it is right now.
Right.
What's the point of remaking it then?
Your childhood was a lie. Those movies weren't that great.
Yeah. They really would not.
So, Art, take us home.
Don't forget to like, follow us, subscribe. Give us your comments of what you think.
All right, that sounds good to me, sir. So for Benny and Aspen behind the camera doing nothing today, I'm Terrence.
I'm Art.
So that brings up our next category, and that's going to be the acting. All right, so some of the people that you got in this film are not listed here. Why am I looking at your card?
Put the notes, I didn't put the actors. Kinnaman, Keaton, you know the actors.
I know too.
Abby Cornish.